Right, so we're live on television. Please do not swear. Please do not say f*** or bugger. My name is Eden Young and this is the world famous SPICY Micra. About 8 years ago, I was really extremely tired and bored of desk jobs. I left my job with barely enough money in the bank to pay the bills for the remainder of the month. So with the help of a couple of credit cards that the wife doesn't know about, I purchased my first TIG welder and a couple of basic essentials and equipment, and 8+ years now, we're in our second premises in a small town called Skegness in the UK. The town name sounds a bit more like of a disease than an actual location.
Okay. Anyways.
You're not meant to be laughing. He needs a muzzle. So my family has roots in short oval stock car racing, and I was no exception to that rule. I believe I started racing in a junior non-contact formula when I was like 11 or 12. And I remember sitting in the assembly area shaking like a leaf, you know, old restless leg syndrome as I'm sitting there, a mixture of both fear and adrenaline. But you know, I distinctly remember that as soon as the green flag went down, my body just instantly calmed and I just focused on the race in front. I was a bit of a wet weather specialist, so I remember every race day I used to sit there and pray that it's going to be wet or at least raining, because you know when it was a wet race I used to be out the front and no one could catch me. I decided to plan for the future and I went and bought my first road car, which was a 1990 Honda Civic EF DX, and of course it didn't take long for me to start modifying that. Out came the 1.3 and I dropped in a 1.6 litre single cam VTEC from the later EG Civic. And yeah, I turned that car into a bit of a rocket for a 17-year-old. So how did we go from Civics to Micras? Well, my business that I built over the last 8 years is primarily catered for manufacturing performance parts for these little nuggets. We make strut braces, exhaust systems, manifolds, turbo kits, supercharger kits, trick suspension components, brake conversion kits, all that lovely stuff for these little Micras. I decided to build a competition car, and the original premise of this car was to put our entire catalogue of parts on it. We had not long developed a budget supercharger kit on this car. This was our supercharger kit mule car, and after driving up and down the road and quite realising how peppy the car was, I thought, you know, this car's gonna kick some serious ass. So I decided to book myself onto the UK Time Attack Championship, paid for the entry, and at that point we was committed to building this car into the first iteration. And long story short, what I thought was an extremely quick car turned out to be the slowest car in the entire competition for the very first year. And I realised quite soon that the little 1300 supercharged nugget with, you know, wasn't going to cut the mustard. So
would you have any grey poupon?
But of course. Grey poupon, one of life's finer pleasures.
As a Nissan enthusiast, as I call myself now, one of my bucket list cars would be a Nissan March K10 Super Turbo, which, thanks to Marty from Mighty Car Mods purchasing one and sending the prices all the way up there, made it quite unreachable. So I decided that if Nissan made the K11 as a supercharged turbo variant, what would it be? So out came the little 1300 CG engine, and in went a 1500 CG15 engine. As you can see, turbocharger just there, but what you can't see tucked up underneath the turbocharger is the supercharger. So yes, this is a Nissan Micra K11 Super Turbo, and with thanks to the Haltech equipment on this vehicle, we've got rid of all those unreliable, complicated series of vacuum lines and vacuum operated valves and stuff, and replaced it with drive-by wire throttle bodies, all controlled by the Haltech. And that allowed us to push this engine combination to over 300 horsepower, still on the factory unopened 1500cc engine. You'll probably spot that we have got two GIZFAB EX38 wastegates on there. No, it's not a twin scroll turbo. The wastegate is there to basically create a boost leak within the positive side of the supercharger to bleed off that excess boost. The supercharger will feed positive pressure into the turbocharger, creating a bit of a compound setup. And then once the turbocharger wants to take over, we turn off the supercharger via the clutch, we open up our throttle body, and then the turbocharger takes this air feed from the air filter. Not only does the supercharger give us that low end torque, it also helps spool the turbo. So the turbo is quite big for a little 1.5 litre, but again, the supercharger helps spool the turbocharger a bit quicker according to the dyno graphs. And that allows us to have a nice flat torque curve all the way from like 1500 RPM all the way up to 7,500 RPM. It's quite a rowdy machine. It's quite a handful to drive, and that's why we call it the SPICY Micra. On the subject of handling, we've got a custom set of BC racing coilovers, accompanied by our entire range of adjustable suspension linkages. Brake-wise on the front is we've actually got a 282mm 4-pot wheel setup, and on the rear is we've got our brake drum to brake disc conversion kit. Now, one of the most striking things that you'll see about the car is the carbon fibre. Thanks to a lovely partnership with Rusky, we managed to shave, I think, 25 kilos off the curb weight of this car. I mean, for example, these wings are 600 grams, you know, and compared to the fiberglass bogged over fenders that were on there previously, which I think were like 3 kilos a side, you know, that's a lot of saving off the front end of the car. And then obviously we've got our splitter and air dam, we've got our big wing on the back, the stuff that you've got to have in a race car. Okay, so here we are in the cockpit of the SPICY Micra, where the magic happens, as one would say. Most important thing and my most favourite thing of the entire interior is the lovely Haltech IC7 dash, which displays all of the vital signs of the engine, which is extremely important because the engines tend to grenade themselves every now and then. We've got our obviously removable steering wheel with our removable wireless pad on there for all of the essentials. Haltech cam pad, which has all the lights and our windscreens on there, boost controls, pit speed limiter, etc. Haltech tyre pressure monitoring system. Underneath here we've got a PD16 and Elite 1500. Isolator here for our electronic power steering, our billet short shifter kit, and we've got a prototype steel mounting plate system here, which we've cut in-house in our plasma cutter. This is where all the magic happens, and this is where I fight to keep this car pointing straight on the race circuit. So the car really kind of exists as a testament to what we can produce. So what's next for the SPICY Micra? Now, behind the scenes here is we have got a new fully forged engine being built in a 1500cc capacity, and we're hoping to push the new setup to around 380-400 horsepower. The ultimate goal would be to get this over to World Time Attack in Australia, and I'm hoping with the list of planned upgrades we will wipe the floor with the competition. Go do it, go chase your dreams, go put yourself in debt, go get that credit card, go buy that TIG welder, make your dreams a reality. And of course, when it comes to electronics, don't forget to head to Haltech. Who the fuck's ordering Uber Eats to the gym? Doesn't that defeat the purpose of going to the gym?